Greetings, dear ones. This is Friday, October 16th. My apologies. I thought we were already live and had already started the talk and found that, in fact, we are only starting now. So it is a little bit after 12 and Friday the 16th, as I said, of October. And once again, we've had a very, very full week, a very, very active week as far as what's occurring both on the national and global stage, which reflects directly into our personal experience of the same issues, but in a very personal reflection. And what I mean by that is that I work under the premise that it is all transpersonal. In other words, what is going on the larger stage is also being catalyzed on an individual basis. So, for example, which allows for a collective consciousness theme. One can look at it as a collective consciousness lesson or learning or opportunity for growth. And this week, one of the themes that have been coming forward was the question of choice and wrongdoing and evil. And one of the questions posed in a group was, does evil need compassion? And again, that perspective, that question is born out of one's perspective of evil. We live in a dualistic universe, which means that there is full expression from one end of the spectrum to the other. And each aspect within that spectrum has the right to express itself, fulfill itself in whatever form it chooses. And those who have explored this universe extensively have no doubt had to have explored both sides. So that which appears evil or bad or negative at this moment certainly has had the flip side experience of being the highest frequency, the most positive, constructive, creative, loving. And what the question of does evil need compassion brought about a discussion of actually needing, not needing, but what can be given is acknowledgement and recognition and appreciation for its presence. And then each being having a choice, because we live again in a free will universe, and therefore you have choice at any time to either take on the role of evil, darkness, negativity, or the opposite. And so therefore there is no true mistake, there is no true bad, there is no true wrong in this universe, in whatever expression may come forth. Now, we each have, again, through that free will choice, to explore those aspects within us, given the provocation or catalysm of those um, triggers in our lives. So, for example, if we are upset and angry at something that another is doing, whether it's in our personal circle or whether it's on the larger national or global stage, it is an opportunity to explore within. Not necessarily that you are that or are exhibiting that, but that aspect of human nature is within you simply because you are human. And it may be certainly to a lesser degree than what you see outside. And it is very, very difficult to discern how we may be exhibiting that same harm, that same destructiveness, because it is extremely challenging to look that deeply and clearly within oneself. And so the other question came up this week. For example, someone was asking that if, in fact, all of the outer manifestations of harm and destructiveness and hurt that's inflicted is sourced from the trauma that was experienced as a child, then why wouldn't someone take the opportunity to explore and attempt to transform or change those aspects within? Now, this person was asking specifically in regard to our current president, which she felt after hearing a lecture was someone who was very, very traumatized as a child and did not receive what they needed and wanted, and therefore that behavior that is now being exhibited is based in that wounding or in that trauma and could be changed, could be transformed had that person had help or guidance or had chosen to do so. Which begs the question, why doesn't everyone? And we live on this earth with such vast variety of everything. Um, Everything in regard to our five senses, everything in regard to every emotion and facet of that emotion, every physical experience, from the most that which creates elation to that which creates despair. That is why this is, as many say, the game in the universe. This is the place to be. I've often referred to it as the Disney World of the universe. Everything is here. And so those souls who have chosen to be here, particularly at this point in time, which is an opportunity for evolution of a species to a such a degree in such a short period of time, is a wonderful opportunity for individual souls to be able to access the energetics and the kindling and firepower of the chaos and turmoil, to be able to not only transform but potentially transmute an aspect of human nature by doing so in one's very personal, very individual, very unique experience. So, for example, um, now let me back up a bit. There is a great difference between change, transformation, and transmutation. To change something is wonderful, and I have great respect and honor to anyone who makes changes in their lives by exploring cognitively why they are doing what they are doing and to modify the behavior. There is the next level of exploration of that piece, which allows for a much deeper emotional experience or re-experience of that trauma that I was referring to earlier, or wounding, and allows for a much deeper emotional uh, mm, revelation and therefore transformation of that particular aspect or wounding. And then there is a much deeper exploration that is usually only done in very particular instances with guidance and in help from another um, person, teacher, guru, counselor, therapist, because those are the very deep aspects, the very core or root of those wounds and traumas. And because there is such spiritual and energetic complexity surrounding those wounds at that level, it must be done with someone who is able to go in with the person through that trauma and able to bring them back out of those unknown, unexplored, darker, often hell spaces. So it's again our opportunity to explore from one end of the spectrum to the other these apparent wounds, but ultimately were spiritual choices of ours as a means of guiding us, leading us to the depth of human experience. And no one experiences things more intensely, more pervasively, meaning throughout the entire body, mind, energy field, emotional expanse, spiritual being as a child. For when a child experiences something, because their little field is so open, because their little body is so impressionable, because their emotions are felt and experienced so completely and utterly. If any of you have ever, certainly those who are parents, know that when a child experiences either anger, for example, their entire little being, their cells, the very fiber of their bodies and their being experience that anger. It may be at the moment very short-lived and can go away just as quickly as it came, but it is experienced utterly. And that is the advantage of being here on this earth. to have had that depth of complete and utter experience of something, positive and negative, um, at that tender, open, vulnerable, powerless, uh, trapped position of a child. And so that allows for the depth of exploration I'm talking about, down to the very root of it. When that pattern, when that wounding became fixated, and everything thereafter was an attempt to shield or prevent the refeeling of that. However, it continued to occur as children over and over and over again, and it becomes replicated in our adult world through our relationships with spouses, family, um, bosses, authority figures, government representatives. It is a constant replication of our own individual experience, giving us or catalyzing us to give us the opportunity to explore that. So, in regard to the question of whether the current president could have, with help, um, explored those wounds and been someone quite different, potentially, yes, it is there for everyone. But his sole choice was to do and be something different, not only for his own soul's exploration or experience of having perhaps great power and utilizing it for his own benefit, rather than having transformed those wounds and pieces within to then feel the compassion and understanding and desire to be a force for good, let's say. But he is serving a great purpose, and it takes a great soul to be able to make that choice and stand in that place of revealing and um, allowing people to feel what they do, because we are being pushed, forced, um, provoked to the very depths of us. And that is a great purpose in a time of evolution, because as we know in our individual lives, if we do not look inside and find what it is that is causing us to respond or react in a certain way, blaming the other perpetuates the pattern, number one. Number two, we remain victims. And that we are not, in any form, in any level, except as children when we are unable to have any say in what occurs in our world. And again, that is a choice from a soul perspective to be able to not only have an experience, but then have the opportunity. It is the journey or the map or the path by which an aspect of human nature can be transformed and ultimately transmuted, which means changing it from one thing into something else completely. Homeopathy, for example, changes oftentimes something that is very poisonous into a healing um, source. And that is a transmuting, changing something from one thing into another completely. And we are at a point in time where many souls, certainly those that are, and as I said at the beginning, have been exploring this universe and in particular maybe making an expertise or doing a specialization with this particular planet and its journey of the human exploration, the human species, human nature. And so there are many old souls, if you want to call them that have the opportunity this particular time to transmute aspects within themselves which automatically has far-reaching and wide-ranging effect. And that is the reason to be here at this time. So each person has made a choice, and we are in an election right now, not merely a national election, but this is a soul election. We are all choosing on a soul basis whether we are going to make this huge leap forward, transmuting aspects of human nature so that we can explore duality in this extremely diverse and wide-ranging and beautifully varied planet, or we are going to then the reverse, vote for continuation of the exploration of duality at the level and in the form that we have been for thousands of years, and take it to its ultimate exploration of duality and separateness and divisiveness and inequality, where there are a small group of beings that generally hold the control and power and monetize resources. It's been happening for thousands of years through kings, conquerors, tyrants, popes, and now certain government leaders around the world, as well as corporate entities. So we have the opportunity, the choice to continue on in this vein, which many see, including myself, as reaching a destructive point for the human species, not for the earth, because she will continue on, does not need us, we need her. But I do feel and have seen and have been told by my group, my council of ancients, that the choice has been made. We are going to move forward, but there is always the possibility until such time as we each individually decide that on a conscious basis that we must do something differently in our lives, in our relationships, in relation to our earth. And that's an individual choice every single day. Are you going to grab the bottle of water and continue to perpetuate the massive amount of plastics on our planet in our waters? Or are you going to make the extra effort to have a reusable bottle and make sure that you have ways to refill that? packaging, etc., etc. These are very small choices, but they do add up when we're talking about the people, the masses making choices. And make no mistake, we are the ones that choose. We are the ones that have the freedom to choose. So beautifully exemplified in the ideal structuring of this particular democracy 250 years ago, or whatever it was. Allowing the people to choose, but the people must take that responsibility and act and perhaps sacrifice in order to have those freedoms. And that is true personally as well as collectively, as a nation, as a planet. So it can be seen throughout, from again, from one end of the spectrum, from the most individual experience to the global experience. So we cannot judge another's choice. We cannot deem them as bad and evil and therefore must be rejected. It cannot be an aspect evolved out of human nature until each of us explore that aspect within. Everything is here leading and guiding us. So, for example, as I said, it came up in one group, the question of, does evil need compassion? Another group brought up the question, does someone like Trump or Hitler really is merely an out, excuse me, a manifestation of the wounds and traumas that they experienced as children? And could that therefore be changed? Again, under the assumption that they, in not changing, are making a wrong choice. So we cannot judge because those aspects are within us. Another factor that played into this week was, sat down for a few minutes, happened to catch a piece of a Star Trek Next Generation episode wherein Data, an android who has no feelings, was able to obtain a chip that allowed him to feel. And in the process, in a mission, he actually felt anger and killed someone that was attacking, and struggled with this, struggled with the fact that feeling that anger was a bad thing, and he tried to avoid experiencing it and exploring it after the fact. And when he was speaking to the counselor, she asked him why he did not want to explore that anger any further, and he responded because he assumed that that was a bad emotion and therefore something to not feel again. And she rightfully explained to him that feelings are feelings. There is none good or bad. And in the further exploration of that, he it was very challenged to to experience what else he felt. She encouraged him to explore a bit further if there was anything else besides the anger. And in that discovery, he realized that there was pleasure at in the process of actually killing someone. And many teachings, including that of Barbara Brennan, the work of Brennan, many other schools of thought, psycho-emotional, psychoenergetic thought, um, and psychology really recognize that within human nature there is actual pleasure in causing pain or destruction. And that is an aspect of every single one of us. And until and unless we are able to recognize that, acknowledge that, explore that, feel that, transform, and ultimately transmute that, it will remain in the species aspect of human nature. So that lower self, as it's sometimes termed, must be fully felt in order to transmute that within oneself and thereby transmute it out of our experience of human nature at that low, very, very low vibrational, very base aspect. That is what we chose to explore. We have done so, and this evolution is about transmuting those pieces. So as each explore to the extent that they choose, so too will that then be evolved out of human nature and the species up-leveled to explore duality, still continuing to explore duality, but at a higher frequency without those existential and power-related aspects of human nature. I know that's a great deal, but it's been a very intense week. And as always, recently, in the past years, and certainly this year, so much occurs in each week, catalyzing, prompting, triggering the opportunity for such evolution. And with that has come a great deal of grief and a sense of loss, for we can no longer hold on to the illusion that the person that we most want and long for and need to protect us, make us feel safe and secure, and assure us that we are first and foremost in their decision making. And initially, that's our parents. And at one point or another, a child realizes, not necessarily on an intellectual basis, but on an innate physical, physio-energetic basis, that that parent is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not making the child feel safe and secure. On the contrary, they are knowingly doing something that causes harm, which many are seeing now in, again, on the national stage, that there are representations of those choosing, knowingly choosing to endanger or cause harm. And this isn't about politics, this isn't about parties, this isn't about right or wrong. They are opportunities and catalysts for us to explore that same experience within our own lives to whatever degree we can, and to whatever degree we experienced it, having then changed, transformed, or transmuted it so that this evolution can take place. And so this week, there has been an overall sense or an underlying sense of grief and loss at that realization that no one, no authority figure is going to do that for us, that we must do that for ourselves. We must take responsibility and create security and safety for all levels of our being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. And we have those opportunities right here and right now. One of the wonderful gifts, so to speak, of this pandemic, how we are choosing to take responsibility and keep ourselves safe physically, to choose to keep ourselves safe mentally by taking action every day to eat right and walk or exercise that allows for the mind to relax and come out of that trauma state, out of that um, scared state, as well as our emotions, to find hobbies, to do things that uplift us and make us feel the importance of aspects of our life. And energetically, centering and sinking down deep within us so that we know and feel and can attune to our innate knowledge, our gut information, enabling us to be led by our wider self. I use the term wider rather than higher because higher implies a hierarchy, which again does not exist in our universe, but wider in that as we incorporate more of our soul experience, more of that which we have been seen and done as a soul, then it allows for a wider perspective and a wider self. So when we take those steps to keep all aspects of ourselves safe and secure, not by creating fortresses and walls and shields and blocking things out, but by taking steps and recognizing, acknowledging, and taking responsibility for our own health on all levels of our being, and thereby making choices that benefit everyone. It's often said if we take care of ourselves and our own, our family, our neighborhood, our community, our extended relations, then everything is taken care of. And that was a lot of information, I'm aware. But many of you who are tuned into the energetics know that as I'm speaking, oftentimes there is transmissions of energetics coming through so that the information goes beyond the intellect, beyond the cognitive ability, beyond the mind, and is reaching a level of you that is perhaps unconscious, but responds or knows or resonates with what is being said. So those of you who have been dipping in or falling into a meditative state as I've been speaking and have not heard the words, that is perfectly fine. And we're just going to deepen that now by simply allowing yourself to drop beyond this physical experience down into your internal world, your inner universe, enabling you to receive and take in on a very deep level the evolutionary and healing energetics that are available and streaming into this world, into this experience. To assist, guide, and collaborate with you on an unconscious basis. Answering what your unique system or being is calling for. Again, no need to follow my words. It is the sensation the vibration, the transmission that is here for you. Responding to the collective desire, call, for the ease and soothing of that grief and sorrow at the loss of illusion, the loss of, in a way, hope for the child, or hope as the child, wanting, needing, longing for the parent to do the right thing on their behalf, to make the choices for the highest and best benefit of that child. For the parent to be acutely aware of that child, what they are feeling, what they are experiencing, and respond with acknowledgement and respect and care. And so many this past week or 10 days have felt the loss and the sorrow that leaders and representatives and authority figures not making choices for the benefit of the people, not feeling into and caring, making decisions for and in the highest and best interest of the people. But instead, choosing selfishly and for their own best interest, as parents so often do and are even in many instances unaware that that's what they're doing. And we must also acknowledge that there are many who knowingly choose, no matter the cost, make choices even though they are aware that it causes harm. It's very difficult to accept that. And the recognition and acknowledgement of that causes great sorrow and great grief. But until and unless that is felt and moves through and transformed, we continue to be at the mercy thereof. As victims. And interestingly perpetuating that same behavior upon ourselves, upon others, upon the planet. So that as this grief and sorrow and loss and mourning are moved through and healed, and all of the energetics that are here at this time to soothe and ease that sorrow and grief. Enabling us to make different choices for ourselves, for and on behalf of ourselves, for and on behalf of those around us, for and on behalf of the planet. Maturing, moving from that child place to an adult's free, will choice, and the ensuing freedom and lightness of being. You may experience sensations in your body as this is being transformed for these experiences are stored in the body. You may experience sensations within your energy field as it is modified in accord with the new patterning. And you may feel nothing at all. That's quite all right. Each person's experience is unique, particular to you, and right for you. And as this is consolidating and incorporating into your physical experience, allow yourself to simply feel and follow the organic process of moving from a less physical experience back to a more physical, third dimensional experience. And yet both are very, very real. You are both a non-physical and physical expression of soul, in your own way, in your own timing, in your own form. Let yourself gently, very, very gently, return to your more habitual form, very different. Do not underestimate the length of time of that transmission to its depth and breadth and reach. There has been a profound change. Allow yourself to feel the self-honoring and gratitude for your being here, for your choice, for your courage, for your determination. For this is a powerful time to be on this planet and participating at whatever level you choose in this evolutionary leap. And should you so choose to explore more deeply, I am here for one-on-one sessions, upcoming group gatherings, and truly allowing the space and the time for this profound transmission to integrate and consolidate and incorporate within you. And you are welcome to re-experience, re-feel the last 20 or 30 minutes of this recording. But I would encourage you to give space in between, at least a few days. And please always remember to drink water, a great deal of water after such a profound energetic experience. It allows for the flushing of what has been brought to the surface and cleared. And as always, on my part, there is the most profound honor and gratitude for your presence, for your path, your chosen journey on this planet at this time. And so letting yourself really feel the depth and breadth and width of respect and gratitude and blessing that is being transmitted. With a breath, and again, if you haven't already done so, opening your eyes, having some water, and perhaps taking a few moments to sensate this body, this human, physical temple through which you are exploring this planet, this project, this evolutionary leap. Deep honor, much love, profound gratitude. Until next time, be well, always, and in all ways.